Hello, welcome to the replay. For those of you watching the replay, if you're new to me, I am Yoga with TG, and I work to help busy career and family focused individuals just like you put themselves back in their own schedules. Hang out with me, work with me, yoga with me, and you'll feel better than you have in years and have a newfound strength physically and mentally. And today, I really wanted to talk about habits and how we can build those healthy habits, and to give you 4 tips to do just that. So, as you come on, whether it's live or on the replay, pop something in the chat for me to see, say hi, say, where you're coming from, what healthy habit you are trying to build right now that you need these tips for. Just tell us what's going on. Tell me how you are as you're coming on. So, all right, 4 tips for keeping those healthy habits, which maybe are yoga habits, right? But of course, this can be applied to any type of habit that you are trying to build in your life. So, what's interesting is habits are hard to break once they're made, but habits are also hard to create. And it can be frustrating to feel like those bad habits stick with us while the good habits are elusive. And so let me know in the chat if that resonates with you, right? Do you feel that way? Like the bad habits stick around and the good habits are elusive. However, as we talk today and as you work on building these healthy habits in your life, I hope that you're nice to yourself. And if you know me, I talk about yoga with TG, and not just as my name, but also as yoga with tenacity and grace. So we want to be tenacious about pursuing those goals, but we also want to show ourselves grace along the way and each and every time we step on our mat. So think about how much judgment we place on ourselves when we view it as we've messed up versus how much credit we give ourselves when we do really well and we're successful. And we probably need to dive into that a little bit more on its own. Right? So maybe I'll make a note that needs to be another conversation that we have. Let me know if you want to have that conversation too. If you would benefit from that. But just today, we're going to talk about 4 tips that I hope will really help you as you are working to build those healthy habits. Okay, so tip number 1, be realistic. So I see this a lot, especially around key times when people are making new goals. So maybe the new year and New Year's resolutions, maybe the start of a new school year or even a new semester or a new time of their life. And they start out of the gate too intensely. So maybe we go from never eating a salad to trying to eat only salad for every meal, or from never running to running 7 days a week, or running 3 miles straight. And I totally get it. We all we're excited about our goals. We're excited to make progress and see that progress, and we want to make quick progress toward those goals. But what often tends to happen if you go out too intensely at the beginning is we burn out. And if this is a new habit that we're trying to form, or even a habit we're trying to restart, we want to be tenacious and work diligently, but we want to be realistic with what we can do so that we actually build that habit into a habit and it's not just a spurt. And additionally, if things have changed, it's a new season of the year or in life, we also need to be able to give ourselves that grace to reassess what realistic might be like. We maybe thought we were realistic in the goals that we set and how we were going to pursue them, but maybe something has changed and we haven't kind of allowed ourselves to reassess. A job change might totally change your schedule, or your location. And that's okay. It's okay to take a step back, reassess, and realign. It's okay to have fallen off the wagon of a goal. Maybe as you're listening, and you can, maybe share if this is the case for you in the comments, but maybe you're like, oh, maybe this is bringing up a goal or a habit you wanted to create this year or this month or this time of your life. And you're like, oh, I totally have not done the things I said I was going to do. That's okay. It doesn't mean you still can't. You can start right now by, okay, I'm going to reassess. I'm going to set something reasonable and I'm going to restart. With yoga, if we're talking yoga specifically, I often get asked how often one should practice. And I know that what they typically mean when they're asking by that, as far as what a practice is, they usually mean a full kind of yoga class, about an hour. And I do have a blog post about what counts as yoga, and it's, spoiler alert, it's not, but it does not have to be an hour. But again, you can read that if you want to. But that's usually kind of what they mean, right? That full hour class. And if that's what they're talking about, I always recommend starting with once a week. And I always get that sense that they think that's not enough. And why would I only recommend once a week? But what I try to tell them is that that's a great goal. If you are just starting out, yoga once a week, carving that out in your schedule is a great goal to have, and is probably going to be harder than you think as you start to really build something new as a priority, as a habit. And so setting that goal is a great goal, and hopefully one that's more realistic. And should not be one that's discounted. Adding a once a week practice is a major win. It is not like, wow, that's an okay starting point. If that's all you do, that's amazing. And so much more than many people can do. And the impact that can have, that one practice a week, is no small thing. So starting realistically. Then we can bring in tip number 2, which is we can then grow and build further with more success. So once you start to have success with that first realistic goal, you're going to feel successful and then more motivated, right? Because that has become something you have been able to do, able to maintain. Then we can build from that and further grow that habit, rather than the other way where we go out too strong and then we fizzle out. So just as we started realistically, we want to grow the same way. You might feel great running once a week, but if you jump from once a week to 6 times a week or 7 days a week, that may not feel the same, right? And I think especially with physical goals, the body needs time to grow with that habit, adjust to it, just as well as your schedule does, right? And your mindset does. So approaching a habit with this slow and steady can really help it stick, but also keep you feeling good about it along the way. Adding, a second yoga class, or maybe adding a home practice to your studio class that you go to once a week is a great complement. The practice doesn't always have to be in the same place or look the same. One could be at the studio, one could be at work or over lunch or over the weekend with your kids, which will definitely be different than the studio practice, but can still be great, right? And can still be adding to that habit. And once you've set an activity as a priority, it becomes easier to make it a larger priority. When you feel and see the benefits, that motivation continues to grow. You start to see some of the benefits, the reasons why it was a goal and a habit you wanted to build in the first place. And you feel good about how it's progressing. And so all of that can compound and make it easier to stick to and to grow. Okay, ready for tip number 3. Motivate with a small promise. So there's always going to be days when you don't want to do it, whatever it is, right? Whatever that habit is, whatever the reason, you don't want to do it that day. Maybe you're busy, you're tired, you want to do something else, etc. Now, sometimes we truly need a break. And missing one class or one run or eating one bad meal, right, like we talked about, isn't going to be the end of the world. We're not trying to be perfect 100% of the time. We're being realistic, not perfect. But sometimes we're just kind of dragging our feet. And to tell the difference between true fatigue and maybe, a case of the lazies, I like the small promise approach. So when I used to run regularly, I was frequently unmotivated because I really did not like running. Shout out to all my friends who love running. Love you, just don't love the running. But it's great. I can definitely vouch for that. But when I used to run regularly, I was frequently unmotivated. I would promise myself that I only had to do 5 minutes, or I was only going to do 1 mile. And then if I was still just really fatigued, really tired, I could stop rather than finish, the length that I traditionally did. So occasionally that 5 minutes, that 1 mile, that was it. That was all I did. I was done. I was just tired or fatigued or sore or drained, whatever. However, what I found was that most times, once I was dressed, I was out the door and I was doing the run, I was in the run, I realized I was fine. I had just been dragging my feet, looking for some excuse to skip. And once I was out doing it, I felt fine. I continued. And when I was done, I was glad that I made myself do it. So make yourself that small promise. It's not that you are always going to force yourself to do the full thing, but maybe there's a small amount. They say, you know what, I'm going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to go out, I'm going to walk around the block, but maybe not the whole loop. And then see how you're doing and be able to really tell, do I really just need to rest? Or do I, now that I'm up and doing it, feel better and actually want to do more? Okay, so those are the first 3. One more tip for you. Tip number 4, restart as needed. We all fall off the track, off the wagon, whatever. We all drop things as we started this conversation. Show yourself grace. Cut yourself some slack. Then, if the habit is something you still want to cultivate, get right back at it. You can restart any time. Today, tomorrow. It does not have to be a big moment. You don't have to wait till next year. Well, there's always next year, right? You can restart any time. Sure, you may have lost some momentum, or some speed or strength or endurance or fill in the blank. Maybe you gained some weight back that you had lost. But once a habit has been started, it usually comes back a little faster. And even if it doesn't, the habit is the goal. We want to cultivate this activity so that it's a part of our lives, that it's something we maintain and benefit over the long haul. So just keep that in mind and start again. Pick it back up. There's no reason to beat yourself up for letting it drop. Just reassess, realign, and restart. Maybe use those other 3 tips to help you with this next restart. And if you have kids, you know how long it can take for something to really be a habit. Think how long we have to continue to remind them that they brush their teeth every morning and every night. I mean, at least I hope it's not just my kids. So please let me know in the chat if you have the same experience, that it's like, did you brush your teeth? Oh no, you need to go do that again today. So remember that with yourself. We need our own nudges and reminders to do what we need to do and what we want to do. So be that for yourself. Grab a friend who can be that reminder for you. You can do it. And I hope that these tips were helpful and valuable and all the things that can help you really achieve your goals. And if you have yoga goals, let me know what those goals are. And I am happy, as always, to help you reach those goals and help you figure out a path that makes the most sense for you, that's reasonable, right, realistic, and really tailored to fit you. So reach out, drop me a comment, send me a message, and let me know what your yoga goals are. Otherwise, I will see you soon and next time.